Alrighty, it's a little overdue, but I'm going to do my Fedor versus Rogers review from the Strike Boys CBS card, covering the whole card, but you know, everyone really wants to know about Fedor Rogers. Okay, this was a good card, really good card actually. Every fight I thoroughly enjoyed, which is very weird. People booed the Mayhem Miller Jake Shields fight. I asked those people what they expected from that fight exactly, because both the guys are ground fighters, really. Mayhem wanted to keep this standing because he is the better striker of the two, but at the same time, you look at Mayhem's fights, he's at his best when he can be the ground dominant fighter. You don't see him destroy people on the feet that often. Anyway, still. We opened up for Verdum Silva. That was a good fight. Silva won the first round. Verdum won the third round. The second round was basically the crux of the fight. However you saw that round, that was your winner. The judges apparently gave it to Verdum. That was my only loss on the main card. Damn. I went back and forth on the fight for some time before eventually thinking that Silva's size and striking would carry the day, and it looked like it was gonna in the first round. And then after that, it kind of didn't. That's kind of all there's to say about that. Moving on, we have the fight between Musasi and Soju, I think was next, or was it Shields? I think it was Musasi Soju. This was another good showing of Sokuju's first round abilities and having no ability past that first round. I think Musasi maybe took him a little lightly because it didn't look like he was expecting the striking prowess of Soju. But on the ground, Musasi pretty much owned and then eventually stopped him with a TKO in the second. Soju, he's got a number of problems in this game, one of which is cardio, another of which is, although this fight showed some progress in it, when he runs into a real striker, he tends to actually fold. We saw that in his fight with Luis Artolcane and Lyoto Machida, and way back when against Glover Texahara. He gets all these accolades for knocking out Arona, who has very little stand-up, and Little Nog, who he knocked out really, really early in the fight. He seems to either have to do that, or if you have striking skills, you can shut him down. Musasi didn't, but at the same time, I think he could have if he really took this fight serious. I honestly think he took this a little lax. That was not the same Musasi we saw fight Babalu, basically. But still, he wins. The other real weakness is Soju. He doesn't have anything off his back. Absolutely nothing. You put him on his back and he is fish out of water, basically. There's no activity, there's no, you know, I think someone suggested he should leave Team Quest, and I think that's probably the right thing to do because he's just not learning it there. Despite the fact that that is a very quality camp. Moving on, Mayhem Shields. Basically, Jake Shields' wrestling carries the day. When you look at the real grappling aspects, he looked good, but he got himself some very bad positions with Miller, almost getting choked. Miller's stand-up was much better during the brief exchanges they had. But in the end, Shields retains. Can't really disagree with that. I don't know about the giving him all rounds, but at the same time, doesn't really matter. I mean, he was not dominant, but at the same time, definitely won this fight. He was controlled where the fight was. He got the better of the grappling for most of the fight. Mayhem had a few moments. That was about it. Jake's got to do more with top position, though. He really does. From the standpoint of not an exciting thing, but you should never leave a fighter alive, particularly one of Mayhem's caliber, for that long. You should finish him when you have the chance, and he had a few chances in this fight. And finally, we get to Fedor Rogers. There's a lot of debate about who won the first round, and I'm going to say that I don't really have an opinion on that. I fully expected this fight to not go to decision, so I wasn't really scoring it. But looking back, you could give it to Fedor. He had the takedowns. He had some damage on the ground. He stunned Rogers. But at the same time, Rogers broke his nose, which I know damage is not a big thing, but he was more or less winning the stand-up. He managed to shrug off a few takedown attempts. He managed to get up from his back. Really, actually, Rogers really impressed me in that round. Like, the fight wound up being a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. But Fedor catches him in the second round. Then we get the post-fight antics of Rogers. I didn't like that. For one thing, if he really thinks that just letting his hands go is going to be the key to beating Fedor, not really. You could score a knockout, I guess, but people are overestimating what, you know, the making Fedor bleed. Fedor always bleeds. He's just one of those fighters that takes a lot of facial damage. You look at his fights back in Pride again. You look at his fight against Choi, even he looks terrible after that fight, but he was never really in danger of getting stopped. And I think Brett Rogers' team would be best informing him of that. That despite the broken nose, I don't really think he hurt him that bad. If there were a rematch, I'd take Fedor. I don't know what method, because I had submission this fight, and Rogers' ground game is a little more existent than most people thought, and that's kind of all there is to say on that. I'm doing a prediction video right after I finish this one for the next UFC, and that will be it for the day, because then I'm going out for dinner.